today I took my son to go shopping, and there was a certain point where we were crossing a road, and he misunderstood which way that we were crossing the road, and he started to wander out into the road on his push bike, and there was a car coming, and he wandered out in front of this car, and I kind of, I saw what was happening, and something in me was like, oh my god, my son's going to be hit by a car maybe. And I shouted, Leander, no, 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 stop, and the car stopped, and I had gone into the road, and I picked him up, and I took him out of the road, and we took a moment to have like a cuddle and feel and breathe, and explain to him why Daddy had just shouted, and and there was terror that I recognized moved in me, like terror that came from this such a deep place, and and it took me a while to really kind of come back to a place of coming to the other side of that experience. And I was working it through with him, and just letting him know how that was a lesson about crossing roads differently, and so on, and feeling the feelings that were there. And then I came home, and I saw the news that 19 children were shot and killed in a mass shooting in America, and 2 adults in Texas. 19 children. And 2 adults. And what I'm asking of myself currently is and it's part of the work that I want to bring forth with Singularity. It's like, how can I let myself be intimate with what's happening in the world? How can I turn toward what's happening in a way that is not disempowering, but in a way where I trust the feelings in me, that I run those feelings, that I open my heart, that I open my body, and I make space for more life and clarity and felt sense of connection to the one humanity and the one earth and the one life to move in me as a result of opening myself to what's here. And so as I do that now, I can't help but feel that right now there are parents and friends and loved ones of those children whose lives are, whose hearts are torn in pieces, where there's an earthquake of unimaginable, undescribable, words can never describe that pain moving through their bodies and moving through their hearts. And their children are gone. And the 2 adults that died are, our loved ones and children of parents, and and I'm asking myself, like, what is the, an inquiry I'm in at the moment is like, I'm asking of myself, like, a non-polarized warriorship for how I participate in what's happening on the planet. That's what I want the campaigns in Singularity to invite us into, a non-polarized warriorship, a full engagement, a full yes to the power and life of the one humanity and the one earth and the one life, but not in a way that's against anyone or anything. And so I see immediately, of course, there's a rising of polarized media around the necessity of restricting gun access on one side, and on the other side it's like already going to war with liberals who are going to try and politicize this and make it about taking away people's guns and so on. And so I'm asking myself, like, how do I how do I find my way to relate to this in a way that is non-polarized and is a radical yes at the same time to the life and to the soul and to the beauty of human beings and human bodies and the human spirit. Yeah, and I find myself it's like, okay, well, I want to be a yes then. I want to be a yes to the fact that the people who stand for gun rights, you know, they want to stand for certain principles of society not being compromised by power structures, particularly in America that has the cultural history that it does around government and has the cultural history around civil wars and has the cultural history around, you know, protecting itself from tyranny, that there's certain principles of sovereignty that people are deeply standing for, that are sacred to them, that they're willing to fight for, that they're willing to go to war for, that they're willing to kill for. Certain principles of the freedom of the human soul, you know, that they're not willing to compromise on. And yes, I can differentiate that from the NRA, and I can differentiate that from, you know, the massive, you know, where the stuff that also feels like that doesn't feel so clean, right? And on the other side, you know, I can feel the recognition that nothing like this should ever happen, you know, and that we need to take action to make sure something like this never, not once happens again. And the despair of how many times this has happened, you know, how many unspeakably tragic shootings have taken away people's loved ones. Yeah, so I just, I want to share myself from a place that, you know, what I'm asking of myself to let myself feel with what I can only imagine these people, you know, who are more intimately connected to this occurrence of feeling in their hearts and in their bodies. To feel the feelings that rise in me, the rage, the despair, the anger, the grief, the sadness, the terror. To run those energies in my system and trust that they make space in me for more life, for more of my presence to drop in, for more of me to feel the truth, the undeniable truth of the connection I have with the whole earth, with humanity as one, with the fact that there is just one humanity, one earth, and one life here. To ask of myself, how can I relate to this from a place that's a yes to the sacred principles of all involved in their most healthy expression of one humanity, one earth, and one life? And then what is the leadership that wants to come through me around this? Me doing this right now is just some little drop of the leadership that wants to come through around me on this. Like, what is the leadership that wants to come through any of us on this? You know, and a leadership, what I want to stand for is a leadership that doesn't just create more battles and drained energy, but that begins with us seeing each other and the sacred principles we're standing for, and calls us all to our deepest expression of the one life that we share in. Yeah, and so, you know, I think before moving any further into that action, I just continue to let myself feel, and I let the shock of this reverberate through my body and my system, and you know, being conscious of my impulse to look away and letting my heart feel with